Hello there, and welcome back. I'm Martin, and today on Daddy Rolled One, I'm going to be talking about how you can just make some small tweaks or adjustments to existing mechanics in order to accomplish a certain theme or aesthetic that you're striving for without needing a whole brand new rule set or even a full campaign setting or anything like that. And you really don't need to get bogged down in the mechanics. You're making small changes really just to try to get to playing rather than spending a lot of time on the minutia of some rules that might seem important at the time, but I've just found throughout my career, they're really just not that important at the end of the day. So what I'm going to be talking about today are some tweaks and adjustments, again, that I'm making to the 1981 BX Moldvay D&D system. So I've talked about this before in my campaign prep videos. And this is the system I'm running right now for my daughter. It's also the one that I started with. And, this is kind of expensive to get now. I think you can maybe get print-on-demand versions from like DM's Guild or something like that. But if you can't find a cheap way to get this, your other alternative is Old School Essentials, which is a so-called retro clone, but essentially it takes all of these rules and just puts it in a better, easier to use layout for use at the table. I say better, it's better for me. So I know a lot of people prefer the layout from this. I find this easier to use at the table because it limits page flipping. There's no things that spill over from page to page, and all the essential things that you need are on like a 2-page spread. This is the player's rule tome that I use. Again, I have this at the table for my daughter's game. Anyway, so I'm talking about some adjustments that I've made. Now, you'll see this book here, Letters from Father Christmas from J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm going to talk about this in a second. So I do want to let you know that these tweaks and adjustments that I'm talking about are applicable for any kind of aesthetic that you're going for. And I have a ton of these ideas on my blog, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. But I've done it before for different genres like horror or city-based adventures or fairy tale or sword and planet, military campaigns, things like that. So I have a bunch of those on my blog, and you don't need to make the changes for that, but sometimes making a couple of tweaks kind of can help you get into the mood of the again, the genre that you're trying to emulate with the rules. Today's one is a little special. Today is December 4th, and we are in the holiday season. So the tweaks that I made for this particular video are going to focus on some Christmas-themed, class concepts that I created a couple of years ago, back in December of 2021, just as kind of a fun thought experiment. And so I hope that Christmas theme doesn't turn you off if you're like, you're not into Christmas or you don't want to run a Christmas theme game. I created these specifically to run as a one-shot for my daughter's game. And I thought it would be fun for the kids. As it turns out, we've actually never found time to do it yet. We're always busy during December. But that was the genesis for me creating these. And I wanted to share them with you really more to kind of show my thought process and how you can be inspired by different types of things. But I do recognize that for some people, December and the holiday season can be a time of depression. And so I do recognize that. I'm going to try to not focus too much on that. And I just want to let you know, to make sure that, if you're having a problem, to talk to someone. I know that there's people in your life, I'm sure, that would love to hear from you, even if you haven't talked to them for a long time. And, just reach out to them and just talk and let them know that you're thinking about them. And I bet you'll find that they might be thinking about you as well. All right. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But again, I want to talk about this particular book here. So this is Letters from Father Christmas. And I found this book years ago. It was originally released in 1976 on the 3rd anniversary of Professor Tolkien's death. However, I hadn't heard of it at the time. I found this probably in like the mid-90s-ish, mid to late 90s. I think it was re-released in 1999, so that could be about the right time. I was looking for a Christmas gift for my mom. My mom was super into Christmas, so she decorated her house every year. And I have fond memories of going with my family to the tree farm to pick our tree and have them cut it down and bring it to the house. And she passed away. And so I do try to keep some of her Christmas traditions alive. But one of the things I did for her every year is, I'm always buying her gifts at Christmas time. And I found this book, and she had a pretty big selection of Christmas books. And I saw J.R.R. Tolkien. I thought, what is this? What is this book? And for, especially for parents out there, but also if you're just a Tolkien fan and maybe you haven't heard of this, basically what this is are letters that Tolkien wrote to his kids over roughly a 20-year time span for his 4 kids, all, as his kids are different ages. So starting with his youngest son, where it was just, he's writing a letter to just one child. And then there's a point in time where he's writing a letter and all 4 kids kind of overlap because they're all kind of in that age, although some of them are very young and some of them might've been a little bit older at the time. And then what you see through this is that little by little, the older kids stop getting letters, and Father Christmas is the one writing the letters, or sometimes it's his elf secretary assistant is writing the letter on Father Christmas's behalf. Of course, they're all written by Tolkien. These were just fun things for his kids. And he will say things like, oh, I guess so-and-so is, your brother's going to be too old next year to get a letter. And then you'll see like that kid's name drop off the name of the letter. And it's kind of melancholy. And, it's just, it really kind of hits home again as a parent. My daughter's 14 now. And so we've been through some issues with her about Christmas, and, it's kind of sad when they get older, to me at least. So, but these letters are they're really interesting, all handwritten and illustrated by Tolkien. And you saw in the front here, he even like devised his own stamps that he painted on the letters as they're coming from the North Pole. And, one of the things that's really interesting in here is that, a couple things. One is that a lot of people see this looks very much like, Lord of the Rings art or The Hobbit. This looks like the cover of my copy of The Hobbit that I have, that style of art. But one of the things that some students and professors that study Tolkien have said is that the character of Gandalf bears a very close resemblance to the character of Father Christmas as depicted in these letters. And these were written before he wrote Lord of the Rings. And then the other thing is that there's a section in here where goblins attack the North Pole. And Father Christmas has, his army of elves, and he also has like polar bears. You see there, the polar bear, and then the 2 polar bears cubs come along later. And so a lot of people say, like, when he was writing those letters with the goblin attacks was right around the time of the start of World War II. And this was like Tolkien's commentary on the Germans and their attacking people in Central Europe at the time. And, but also, you get this sense of like, you've got these goblin attacks, and they're very much like the goblins that you end up reading about in Lord of the Rings, it's really funny. So I highly recommend reading this, even if you don't want to use this as inspiration for running a role-playing game. I think you'd get inspiration from this, but it's just a really fascinating book. It's a peek into time of how, people celebrated Christmas in this part of England in the middle part, early to middle part of the last century, and also just kind of, I love the art, and it will give you some inspiration if you choose to look for it, right? So, but it's really interesting, and also if you are a parent, and it might give you some ideas of things that you want to do for your kids, or maybe you want to be a parent one day. So, highly recommend this book. But I was inspired by this book. And this is actually the copy that I gave to my mom back in the day. So, when she passed away, I brought it home. But I also was inspired by watching an episode of The Big Bang Theory years ago. If you folks watched that, I only started watching that show because one of my friends started appearing on it in sort of an ongoing kind of cameo role. And but they had a Christmas episode once where Howard ends up running a D&D session for the gang that's all Christmas themed. And I thought, what a fun idea! That could be a great idea for for a game, for a role-playing game. And so, or a campaign or a session at least. And so I was inspired to put some of these different ideas together. And I got some of my ideas from here. Also, this is one of my favorite Christmas books, the Encyclopedia of Christmas. You don't need any of these to, everyone's got their own traditions. So just go with what's in your head. And of course, there's dozens of specials, TV specials and movies and stuff like that, even songs and books. But I'm a big collector of Christmas books as well. I kind of got that from my mom. So this is one of my favorite ones, which just talks about different concepts of Christmas throughout the world. So I got a lot of ideas from this particular book. And then just as an example, there was a series of Time Life books back in the 80s called The Enchanted World. And one of the ones that I got was called The Book of Christmas. I got all of them. My mom subscribed to them for me back in the day. But I really like this one particular because it had this section on here, all these different characters and special days that are kind of associated around the holiday season. And these were things I'd never heard of before. So this is St. Martin's Day, which has a special meaning to me, given my name. But St. Andrew's Day, where you go out and you can go out to the crossroads and see vampires fighting at the crossroads. I'd never heard of that before. And I thought, like, what an interesting concept to like celebrate around the holiday season. And then St. Nicholas Day on December 6th. And I learned all about certain parts of Europe, where in Northern Europe, especially, where he'll arrive by boat on that day. And that's when the gift giving season starts. St. Lucia's Day. So I bought my daughter one of these crowns, and she's worn every year since she was like 2. And she's getting a little old for it now, but she still humors me and puts it on every St. Lucia's Day and serves me breakfast. And then the day of the solstice, the 21st, Christmas Eve, and all the Christmas Eve ghosts. And it talks about all these traditions here. So again, it's not just the typical schmaltzy stuff. It's just like all these like old world traditions that I had never heard of before. This idea how on Christmas Day, all the animals get along together. And that's why you see this lion and bear with all of these, like these predators with all these like, so-called prey animals, but they all get along on that particular day. That's a fun concept you could put into a game. Ideas for New Year's Eve, and then 12th night, and then Bridget's Day, ending the season on February 1st. So I thought this was really interesting. And so I got a lot of ideas from this book, and I think you could probably find this pretty cheap on the secondary market. And then lastly, I just wanted to show you this one because I was pretty excited about this. So I buy my daughter a Christmas gift every year. And there was that Christmas special the year of Down to Santa Claus. It's the one with the Miser brothers, the Heat Miser and Snow Miser, which are great character types for a Christmas style game. But I didn't realize that was based on a book, and I found that it was. And so I found a copy of this book. This is the card that I put in here for her. And this is an old book. This is the 5th printing, but it's pretty old. It's from the 70s. And you could get a lot of ideas from this. Again, there's the Mother Nature thing, and there's the Miser brothers. A lot of that stuff was made for the TV special. It's not in this book, but I just kind of wanted to show that little thing. But anyway, here are the concepts that I came up with. So the idea behind this is that I'm taking the 7 class concepts from this game. So as a reminder, the 7 classes in here are cleric, dwarf, elf, fighter, halfling, magic user, and thief. So again, in this particular one, this is known as race as class. So dwarf, elf, and halfling are classes. Okay. So I took those and I made 12 class concepts around those 7 classes. And the idea is that it's a 12. So if you wanted to, you could roll a D12 to see what you're going to end up playing. But you see them here. So here are the first 3. I have for cleric, I call him Claus. And so out of you could have Klaus's child. And that could be Arthur or Noel or Steve. These are all from movies and TV shows, TV specials. And then I gave them different benefits and some drawbacks. So, but the thing is, I'm not being super particular about being balanced because these aren't intended for a campaign. This would be intended for a one-off session. And that's my point. This whole thing is that if you're going to do something like this and you want to do, especially for a Christmas, I guess you could run a Christmas themed campaign, but I really think that the ideal would be you would just do like a one-off during the season. Maybe, your kids are home if you have kids and they're home from break and, from school. and you're trying to find something to do, you could do a quick one-off D&D session during Christmas with some of these character ideas. And so the idea of like, oh, this character might be more powerful than this other one or things like that. Don't worry about that. Just get it done. Just and run the game and have fun with it. Okay. So you see again these ideas here. And I do have like some benefits and drawbacks. And so as an example for the Klaus's child, I said like their turn undead ability for a cleric only works on non-believers like Scrooges or Grinches. So it's not the traditional turn undead. And that's the drawback for the abilities that they get, like speaking languages or not getting lost. Okay. So it's just one or two small tweaks. You don't have to go full bore. You don't have to write a full, 3-page 5e background with all the different things that they have in there. And, where they have all those tables about their personality and all that stuff. Like, don't worry about that. Like, just do a couple of minor things and then start your game, get your game going. Okay. So for dwarves, I had Klaus's assistant, and a lot of the ideas came from that book that I showed you earlier, the Encyclopedia of Christmas. So like Bell's Nickel and Black Pete and all that stuff, all of those were in here. And so I just kind of consolidated them all into one idea, and giving them a chance to detect alignment, because that's what that person's supposed to do, is knowing whether the kid's naughty or nice. That's the idea. And then if they're, an elf, they could be a Santa's elf, and giving them, taking away their spell casting and BX. All elves are magic users, fighters. They're like a multi-class fighter magic user. And so I said, well, they can't cast spells, but they can cast minor creation 3 times a day, but only to make toys. And so those are kind of like, the pros and cons of some of these classes. So I've got fighters here. I've got the Knight of 1023, which is from the Rudolph New Year special, if you've ever seen that. And I have the Prospector, like Yukon Cornelius. For halflings, I got that from the Encyclopedia of Christmas as well. So this is a sort of a Northern European style of they wouldn't have called them halflings, but kind of like a mischievous spirit type. And these are ones that sort of like protect a household. And they might do chores in the house, but if you don't placate them with, liquor or tobacco or sweets or things like that, then they might curse your family. And so that's something that this particular character could do. And then also as a halfling, I did like a village child. And the idea here is that these are actually humans. So you're playing a halfling, but it's technically a human child. And what they can do is they can summon a Klaus if one doesn't exist by starting a letter writing campaign. So if you've never seen the animated movie Klaus, it's on Netflix. So you got to be careful which one you're looking for, but you're looking for the one that's voiced with Jason Schwartzman and Rashida. I just forgot her last name. Jones. I forget. Anyway. But definitely fine. And it's Norm Macdonald has a cameo in that. And I think it was his last acting job as a voice actor before he passed away, but definitely seek that out. It's a lot of fun. For magic user, the classic Christmas witch. So like, Befana or Lavecchia, old woman, whatever you want to call her. Right. And so, and she would have different powers. And then the winter warlock from Santa Claus Has Come to Town. And then you've got your thief of Klaus's brother. So I picked Fred from Fred Claus, and postal worker, of course. So Jesper, which is from Klaus, or SD Kluger, Santa Claus Is Coming to Town. And then the true believer. These are, all the kids in all the movies that believe in Santa, right? So, again, it's just some fun ideas here. And I just kind of wanted you to see how, again, you can tweak something that's existing without going overboard and having to write pages and pages of new mechanics. So for the ones that I do for the other genres, like I was talking about, like the horror genre or the fairy tale, things like that, I actually did spend tiny bit more time to make sure those ones were a little bit more balanced against each other, with the thought that like those are things that you might want to run in a whole campaign. So you might want to run a fairy tale campaign using BX rules. And so I gave you ideas on how to do that. So again, if you go on my blog, you'll see all these ideas where I write these class concepts up. And then I also give you ideas on, like, the three main themes of that particular genre, three horror themes or three fairy tale themes or three sword and planet themes, whatever it is, right? And I give you ideas on running campaigns. I also did that for these Christmas ones. So if you go on the blog, you'll see ideas for creating adversaries and what they could be. I have stats for NPC, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus. And then I have ideas for different adventures that you might do around that time period. And, one of them inspired by, there's a Marvel Zombies version of A Christmas Carol. So I have that graphic novel. I meant to pull it up here to show you, but that's a fun one that you could do. If you want to do a little horror theme. So there is a long tradition of telling ghost stories at Christmas time, which is why that one Christmas Carol talks about scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago, right? So the whole point of that scary ghost stories was because in the old days, there was a tradition of telling ghost stories at Christmas time. So you could run a full-on ghost story. I wouldn't go full gore, but you could definitely do a suspenseful supernatural horror thing that takes place around Christmas time. Still using some of the ideas that I just showed you, but maybe, tweak them a little bit to kind of like fit in with that sort of more suspenseful ghost story type of idea. So that's really going to be it for today. This was just a quick one, to sort of celebrate the holiday season. And again, I hope that, if you normally come here, I get a lot of people come here for my D&D history videos, which there will be one of those coming up soon, probably next week. But I thought I would kind of do something a little bit different to, again, celebrate the holidays, as I am a big fan of this time of year. So definitely check out my blog, links below, where you can get more details on how to do some more ideas like this. And again, it doesn't need to be limited to Christmas. That's just the one that I picked for this particular video, given the seasonality that we're in. So that's going to be it for this particular video. So I did want to say thank you so very much for watching. And let me know if you want a copy of these class concepts that I did. I have this as a PDF, so I could send this to you in an email. So send me an email. My email is in the show notes below, and I would be happy to send this to you if you want to use it in your game, and also, again, give you the link where you can get more details on my blog. So thanks again for watching. Happy gaming. Stay safe, and I will talk to you next time. Really quick before I get to the bonus content, I did want to ask everyone, if you like this video, if you could please give it a like, and also if you could subscribe to my channel. If you have not subscribed yet, I would just really appreciate it. It really helps with the algorithm. And if you could please comment below, let me know. Even if you didn't like the video, that's fine. Let me know why you didn't like it. I mean, I'm assuming it would be because it was Christmas themed, but if there's anything else, definitely let me know. I know my last video that I did, on the classes from Dragon Magazine, my hands were shaking quite a bit, and so people commented on that, and that's a fair criticism. So I'm going to try to correct that in the future when I'm showing stuff on the screen. But in any event, if you could leave a comment below, and also while you're below, you'll find places where you can join me on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, formerly Twitter, Blue Sky. I already talked about my blog, and you can also visit my shop, where you can find exclusive tabletop role-playing game designs that are only available at my shop on t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, posters, notebooks, etc. And that buying something from my shop is the best way to help support my channel right now. Okay, so thank you so much for that. And now it's time for the bonus content. So this is what I was drinking and what I was listening to while I was working on my notes from this video. So I thought I would pick it falls within the category of Christmas ales, although it's not really. Christmas ales typically are a very specific time, usually Belgian, and they're much maltier and sweeter. But I am more of a bitter beer person. So my wife picked this up for me at the store. It's called Santa Was a Werewolf. And you see the werewolf Santa here. And this is from Paperback Brewing, which is pretty local to me. So it says, "This Christmas, Santa is bringing the gift of terror." And I thought this was very appropriate for the topic that we were talking about, especially at the end there. I was talking about how you could run like a Christmas themed ghost story. So just a fun West Coast style ale. And I have it here in my one of my soon-to-be glasses now, Christmas glasses. And I recognize that a pint glass is not typically the appropriate vehicle to distribute your IPAs. Normally you'd use a tulip glass, but I don't have any Christmas decorated tulip glasses. Nice and bright, very hoppy. That's more of my style. Okay. And then what I was listening to, this was a fun one. This is a gift from my friend years ago. He came over for Christmas dinner and brought this as something to listen to while we were eating. This is the official Beatles fan club. Happy Christmas, Beatles people. So back in, the height of Beatlemania, from 63 to 69, they distributed these, they're called flexi discs, to the Beatles fan club every year at Christmas time. Super rare, super hard to get now. Like an original one of these, it's going to set you back quite a bit. But what they did was they went back finally and they basically reprinted them all, you republished them all, repressed them all, whatever you want to say, in this special box set. And so my friend gave this to me. And unfortunately, these days, this box set is also a little pricey. You might be able to find a deal, but it's got all 7 of the discs in perfect replica of what they originally looked like. So you can also just find the music online if you just want to hear the music and aren't a collector. But I had a lot of fun spinning these. I'm not a big fan of 45s because I want to just sit and listen to the music, not keep getting up to changing it. I'm fine with a full record album or full side, but this is a fun little Christmas treat that's just different from the normal Christmas music that you hear. Again, if people, maybe you work in a mall and you just hear Christmas music all the time, this is not stuff that you're going to hear. So it's a lot of them talking about their Christmas memories and things like that. And there's some songs on here, but it's nothing that you would hear normally, like played on the radio. So seek this out, see if you can find this somewhere, and give it a listen, and let me know in the comments below if you've heard it before, or maybe you'd give it a chance after you heard this, and let me know what you think. Okay. And also, why don't you share some of your favorite Christmas beers with me? I love sampling beers at Christmas, and I'm always looking for new ones. So if you have a favorite, drop it in the links below, and I will see if I can get one. All right. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Cheers. Happy holidays. And I'll talk to you next time.